India. A nation obsessed with cricket, where the sport borders on religion and players are worshipped like gods. They've conquered the world stage, boasting an impressive trophy cabinet and a seemingly endless supply of cricketing talent. But behind the dazzling victories and the roar of the crowds, there's a nagging question that refuses to go away. Is India's cricket dominance completely fair? Are they playing on a level playing field, or are there darker forces at play, manipulating the game to keep them on top? Over the next few minutes, we're going to dive deep into the underbelly of Indian cricket, examining the controversies, the whispers, and the uncomfortable truths that often get swept under the rug. Now, every sport has its governing body, right? FIFA for football, the IOC for the Olympics. But in cricket, there's one organisation that stands head and shoulders above the rest in terms of sheer, unadulterated power. The Board of Control for Cricket in India, or as it's more widely known, the BCCI. This isn't just some bureaucratic organisation. Oh no, this, my friends, is a financial behemoth. We're talking billions of dollars in revenue, more money than some small countries. And with that kind of wealth comes influence, the kind of influence that can make or break careers, sway decisions, and, yes, even potentially tilt the scales of the game. Think about it, the BCCI has its fingers in every cricketing pie imaginable. They control the Indian team, obviously, but they also have a massive say in international cricket. Scheduling, tournament structures, you name it, the BCCI has a voice. A booming voice that often sounds a lot like a cash register. Now, I'm not saying they're directly bribing umpires or forcing teams to play on pitches that resemble the surface of the moon, but let's just say when the BCCI whispers, the rest of the cricketing world tends to listen, often with a mix of fear and begrudging respect. And why wouldn't they? The BCCI knows how to flex its financial muscle. They can make or break broadcasting deals, lure top players with lucrative contracts, and generally make life very difficult for anyone who dares to cross them. It's like dealing with a particularly litigious honey badger that also happens to have a bottomless bank account. Now, anyone who's even remotely familiar with cricket knows that the pitch, that strip of earth where the magic happens, can make or break a game. And no one, I mean no one, understands the art of pitch preparation quite like India. See, in cricket, there's this thing called home advantage. Teams tend to perform better on their own turf, familiar with the conditions, the bounce of the ball, all that jazz. But in India, home advantage takes on a whole new meaning. Imagine this, a pitch as dry and cracked as a day-old croissant where the ball spins more than a carnival ride. That's what visiting teams often encounter when they step onto Indian soil. It's a spinner's paradise, a graveyard for fast bowlers, and it just so happens to perfectly suit India's spin-heavy attack. Coincidence? Perhaps. Or maybe, just maybe, it's a calculated strategy to give the home team an edge. And don't even get me started on the accusations of doctoring pitches. We've all heard the whispers, seen the groundsmen scurrying around with buckets and rollers like they're trying to build a sandcastle instead of preparing a sporting surface. Is it all above board? Let's talk about umpiring, shall we? That often thankless, perpetually scrutinized group of individuals tasked with making split-second decisions in the heat of the moment. Now, I'm not saying all umpires are biased, but let's just say that when it comes to India, there have been some, shall we say, interesting decisions over the years. We're talking blatant howlers, missed run-outs, LBW shouts that would make a blindfolded umpire blush. It's enough to make you wonder if the umpires are wearing those special glasses that make everything look like a chicken. And then there's the DRS, the decision review system, cricket's attempt to bring some technological objectivity to the game. You'd think this would level the playing field, right? Well, not so fast. Even with the DRS, India seems to have a knack for finding themselves on the right side of those close calls. Is it just luck? Now, let's talk about the Indian Premier League, or IPL, as it's more affectionately known. This annual cricketing extravaganza is like the Super Bowl, the World Series, and the Puppy Bowl all rolled into one, with a dash of Bollywood glamour thrown in for good measure. It's a 6-week frenzy of big hits, bigger personalities, and even bigger paychecks, and it's become a breeding ground for Indian cricketing talent. See, the IPL isn't just about entertainment, it's a high-pressure proving ground where young Indian players cut their teeth, hone their skills, and learn to handle the pressure of playing against the best in the world. And here's the thing. While other countries have their own T20 leagues, none can match the sheer scale and intensity of the IPL. It's like comparing a backyard barbecue to a full-blown music festival. The competition is fierce, the stakes are high, and the experience is invaluable for young players looking to make their mark on the international stage. So, when these IPL-hardened youngsters eventually don the Indian jersey, they're not just playing cricket, they're battle-tested veterans, ready to take on the world. But the IPL's influence goes beyond just developing talent. It's also created a situation where Indian players are constantly exposed to the tactics, techniques and weaknesses of their international counterparts. They're playing alongside them, against them, and learning from them season after season. It's like having access to your opponent's playbook, except the playbook is constantly being updated with the latest and greatest plays. Now, this wouldn't be a truly investigative piece on Indian cricket without addressing the elephant in the room, or should I say, the bookie in the stands. Match fixing. It's a dirty word, a stain on any sport, and cricket, unfortunately, is no stranger to its insidious influence. India, with its passionate fans, its vast sums of money, and its insatiable appetite for gambling, has been a particularly tempting target for those looking to make a quick buck by manipulating the beautiful game. We've all heard the stories, whispered in hushed tones, players throwing matches, bookies calling the shots, shadowy figures lurking in the background, pulling the strings. It's the stuff of cricketing nightmares. And while the authorities have taken steps to crack down on corruption, the rumours persist, casting a long shadow over the sport. Every drop catch, every wide delivery, every questionable decision becomes suspect, viewed through the lens of suspicion. Cricket, as we know, is often called a gentleman's game, but let's be honest, there are times when it resembles a verbal brawl in a dustbin, and no one, I repeat, no one does sledging, that unique brand of on-field banter designed to distract, dishearten and generally get under the skin of their opponents, quite like the Indian cricket team. It's an art form, really, a delicate balance between wit, intimidation and outright psychological warfare. Now, some might call it gamesmanship, a way to gain a mental edge. Others might call it plain old cheating, a way to distract opponents from their game. But whatever you call it, there's no denying that India has used sledging to great effect over the years. They know how to push buttons, how to exploit weaknesses, how to get inside the heads of their opponents and stay there, rent-free. And it's not just the players. The Indian crowd, a force of nature in its own right, plays a crucial role in this psychological warfare. Imagine tens of thousands of voices united in a chorus of cheers for the home team and jeers for the opposition. Let's talk about money, shall we? Because in the world of cricket, money talks, and in the case of India, it shouts from the rooftops, plastered on billboards and flashes across our screens during every commercial break. Indian cricket is a multi-billion-dollar industry, a cash cow that attracts sponsors like moths to a flame. And with that kind of money sloshing around, it's only natural to wonder, does it influence the game? Now, I'm not saying that sponsors are directly bribing players or dictating team strategy, but let's just say when you've got companies pouring millions into a sport, they expect a return on their investment. They want to see their brand associated with success, with victory, with those glorious champagne-soaked celebrations. And that creates a certain amount of pressure, a subtle nudge-nudge, wink-wink to ensure that the Indian team keeps winning, keeps those sponsorship dollars flowing. And then there's the media, the broadcasters, the journalists, all those who benefit from India's cricketing dominance. Let's face it, a winning Indian team is good for business. It means higher ratings, more eyeballs on screens, more clicks, more shares, more money. And so the narrative is spun. The hype machine goes into overdrive. And the pressure on the Indian team to keep winning, to maintain this facade of invincibility, becomes almost unbearable. So there you have it, a glimpse behind the curtain of Indian cricket, a world of power, money and influence. We've seen how the BCCI wields its financial might, how pitches are prepared to favour the home team, how umpiring decisions and the DRS seem to mysteriously benefit India, and how the IPL has become a breeding ground for a new generation of cricketing superstars. We've explored the dark side of the sport, the whispers of match fixing, the psychological warfare of sledging, and the ever-present influence of sponsors and the media. But the question remains, is India's cricket dominance fair? Are they simply a talented team, blessed with exceptional players and a passionate fan base? Or are there other forces at play, tilting the scales in their favour, ensuring their continued reign at the top? It's a complex issue with no easy answers, but one thing's for sure, the next time you watch an Indian cricket match, you might find yourself looking at it a little differently. You might find yourself questioning every decision, every victory, every stunning display of skill. And you might just find yourself wondering, is this really just a game? Do you think India's success is fair? Comment below.